biggest thing.
So there's nothing that could have been done differently that would have not happened?
It's a victim of the era. It's just age is all it is. We've gone to stainless steel plumbing, poly tanks, much better material on the pumps. Everyone's improving as they go along. We've seen in the 90s, we've seen frame problems. You'll see some, reading the paper, where some of your fire departments having broken frames locally at 10 years old. Not good news.
Hold on. Bill,
yes.
Why don't we have the board come back up so we can continue this meeting?
Sure. I think that was a wrap. It was.
Thank you.
How did that? Thank you. Anybody young and strong that can carry that pump back out for us? Where's Frank? Yeah, we'll have to call Frank.
Right in.
Yeah. No, my job.
Selectman O'Brien, questions for Bill or for Sean?
Sure.
I don't have any now, but I'd like to make some. I had a discussion with the chief that I'd like to discuss and update everybody when we get the chance to do that. But if there's any other questions, please do that first.
Right.
Selectman Hayes.
I'm all set for now, thank you.
Okay, anybody?
While this is not a public hearing, this board has been very vigilant at listening to its citizens and what the citizens would like to do. I am going to open this up carefully to allow anyone who'd like to come up and speak on this issue to do so. I would caution everyone and implore everyone here to make sure that we are professional, and courteous, and polite in everything we say. I would ask everyone to keep personalities out of this discussion. For all residents of Guilford, we want what's in the best interest of Guilford. We may disagree at times, but we are all residents and neighbors. So I'm asking you to please, if you'd like to speak, to do so in a professional way. And that way we can just answer the questions and we can continue. Whoever would like to come speak, go right ahead. Please, sir.
Good evening, I'm David Osmond. I have a question, and I'm wondering if I might have the question addressed to the gentleman who spoke, who's familiar with the repairs, and that is, assuming this truck were to be repaired in accordance with the mandates and the recommendation, that's the equipment on it and the running gear and all of the stuff that we saw this evening, how long would this truck be out of service? How much downtime? I'm concerned about hidden costs there. The negative, that is, the truck is out of service as we repair it.
Sean?
Just the pump repair alone, that part is 4 weeks lead time from the time we order it. And you're talking, replace the pump, probably talking 3 weeks of work, so probably 4 weeks to get the part, and at least 2 to 3 weeks before we finish putting the pump in. It's a difficult situation. The judge, in my quotes, I put in an allowance for plumbing. Just with those holes you see in there are going to be all through that plumbing. As you break something loose and have it in your hand, now's the time to refabricate some of the plumbing that you've got out, put back in. So I think I've got like $3,700 or something like that in plumbing as a guesstimate. So you're looking at 7 weeks down minimum just to do the pump. Now, you think you can do some of the other work while you're doing this, but the truck's up in the air, changing out the pump, you can't get the springs out of it until you can lower it down and get it on stands, things like that. So you can double up some of the work, but you can't do, I can't have 4 guys working the truck at once. It gets part of it repaired, and then it will get the other part. So as you go into the chassis work, that's all going to be added beyond that pump. So you're looking at 6, 7 weeks just for the pump.
Sean, over here.
Yep.
I'm a non-mechanical type person. So I don't understand why it takes 3 weeks to take a pump out, which is already out, put a new pump in and put it back together. I don't comprehend that.
Access, hours and hours and hours. I got 94 hours into rebuilding that pump, is the time it's gonna take us, is what I've estimated. This particular truck especially is built kind of unique. The pump is actually over the top of the transmission, so access to it very, very, very difficult. We have to do some of the work from underneath and lower it down off the stands, which is just, push a button, but it's time. Bring it down, climb in over the top and do some more. The pump panels, to take those pump panels off, would be probably 2 days to get a pump panel off, and you're gonna open all kinds of cans of worms. All the gauge lines are you're gonna have leaks, you're gonna have wiring issues, all that stuff. So we try not to interfere with things that we don't need to interfere with when we do the job. The more we take off, the more is can of worms are potentially opening up. So, but it's not a it's just not throwing parts on. They've got to align, they've got to turn. When we get done doing the job, we do an annual pump test, and you get a written report. So I mean, the numbers are there. You can't lie. The devil's in the details. So when we're done, it will pump 1,250 gallons a minute, rated like it did the day it was brand new. And to get to that, you've got to be careful how you put it together. So you don't have to damage anything.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Sir?
I'm Tim Sullivan. I live on Bedford Avenue. Well, I'd like to thank either DPW or the Laconia Department of Water, because 2 years ago, a new fire plug was installed across the street from one of my abutters. Until that point, myself, my own home, and the other abutters around me, the nearest fire plug was about 80 yards away from our home. The point is, of course, is that equipment, it doesn't matter how much we train our fire personnel and provide them with that good training. If they don't have equipment, it's going to take them an extra 5 or 10 minutes maybe to get water to my house if I got a fire. But now, with 30 yards away from my house, there's a plug. Hook up 2 hoses, 50-foot lengths, and they're going to be having, the water's going to be on my house. And I'm sorry to test your guidance here, Gus, but I did speak at the deliberative session, and I did categorize this truck as a piece of junk. My background is as an engineer, and I can tell you that in my 32 years in the industry, I probably rebuilt or participated in rebuilding at least 20 of those pumps, that size or bigger or smaller, and that's just what happens. They wear out, and you can see underneath, and there's photos, you can see all the corrosion and rust. It doesn't matter. If you have a 25-year-old, 1-ton pickup, you're going to have the same kind of stuff underneath it. The beams and the girders and stuff that support the spindles that the wheels are on, they're going to be rusted. They're going to be wasted. And this is New Hampshire. You're not going to have a 25-year-old truck. That's not going to be a piece of junk. And so, I hate to say it, but, I told you so. So now, we're faced with this situation. I'm sorry the voters decided against, buying a new truck. Again, I'm not a banker or a insurance person. I don't know what the cost of underwriting a bond issue is versus low rates, yes. But if we end up spending 20% of the cost of the entire bonding on bonding the thing, then I don't know if that's even cost effective, low rates or not, where we couldn't just buy that truck outright and pay for it in a single year on the tax base. And of course, that's a horrendously difficult decision to make, but it seems to me it would be the least expensive way to go. So, again, I think we need a new fire truck. And, I hate to go on here, but, we just saw in the news here, all the news about the Titanic sinking 100 years ago. 1,500 people lost their lives. Now, that was poor training, because they could have gotten 200 or 500 of those people who died could have fit into some of those lifeboats, but they went away, without the full capacity or even over capacity. And then 40 years later, the Andrea Doria sinks. And they found out that, oh, we got 100% lifeboats, but now the thing lists over 30, 40 degrees, and the lifeboats on one side couldn't be launched. So again, they didn't have adequate equipment. Over 100 people died. Recently, we just had another one of these incidences with Concordia or whatever, 37 people losing their lives. And again, you know, this is serious business. If you don't have the adequate equipment and properly trained people, you know, people can end up losing their lives. Property damage to be, you know, very, very serious. And, you know, it's just, again, you just have to replace this kind of equipment from time to time. So, you know, that's it. I said it, but I'm gonna say it again. I told you so. Piece of junk.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Kevin Leandro, let me start by saying, apologizing for my appearance, like Mr. Mulcahy. I'm a practitioner of what I speak about, so sometimes I didn't get a chance to get in the shower first, and I probably stink as well. Tim, respectfully, I don't know if you can compare this to the Titanic, but I do agree with you that you need properly trained people to maintain this stuff and there needs to be a practice in place. I do agree. One thing I didn't hear mentioned, and I'm not going to talk about the viability of that pump bank. Me and Mr. Labani there, who did clean up, we did go down to the firehouse today and take a look at that, and you know, it was pulled apart in the pallet, and I agree. I mean, it's one right through, and Mr. Mulcahy, yeah, he'll probably attest to it. A lot of it is Guilford water. I mean, we all know about that. And okay, the pump needs to be replaced. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to dispute the price. That's his department. I didn't hear anybody mention the fact that pump was completely rebuilt in 2006. Did you know that?
Not by us.
Okay, not by, in this little flyer, the chief, who's not here tonight, put together for the budget committee. I believe Gus, let me just pass it around. Let's see. I can't imagine seeing that pitting. I can't imagine 5 years ago it wasn't at least 3/4 of the way there, and they didn't replace it then. That being said, there's been some talk. Mr. Akeley had spoken about other people and crawling under the truck and missing things, and that was me and Pat. And you know, it's not my job to catch this stuff, but brakes. Front brakes, absolutely. We looked at it today, and it needs drums, it needs shoes, brake can. Like I had started to say, it's really not a big issue. It's a consumable item. It's routine maintenance to do brakes on a truck. Just last Friday, my truck, I think truck 6, I did all 4 back brakes, S-cams, S-cam bushings and seals, slack adjusters, drums, brakes, brake shoes. It took me 4.5 hours, all 4 rear, not 2 fronts, all 4 rear. I think I was into it, God, I'm thinking it was just under 1,200 in parts, and about 4.5 hours labor, my own labor. This isn't a reason, I mean, and I'm kind of surprised. I mean, you called DOT to have it put out of service, really? Who does that? You called DOT to put the truck out of service. If that's not trying to grab a headline, I don't know what it is. We're playing politics here, folks.
Kevin,
Mr. Chairman.
careful.
Yeah.
Kevin, we'll just,
Oh, okay.
Keep it to the facts.
I've never, ever, in my 23 years in business, I've never heard of somebody having an issue with a truck and calling DOT to look at it.
There's a liability there that somebody might have been concerned.
That's right, that's not the way,
especially since the truck had just been stickered.
okay. And I agree, and I don't understand how that was missed. I've been, this kind of illustrates points I've been making for several months now about maintenance issues here with the fire department, and or lack of maintenance. And I've been trying to say, we need a strict maintenance management program. This stuff's not being checked. I've looked at engine 2, the 03 KME, and crawling under it, I see the scaling, I see a lot of the same issues, the battery box, corrosion on the battery terminals. That truck's gonna need some of the same work. It's not engine 4. It's not the fact that it's the reserve piece, it's not the fact that it's old, it's the fact that it's not seeing routine maintenance. I'm gonna give you guys one of these. This is very simple. Everybody's ever driven a commercial vehicle. This is a daily vehicle inspection report. I'll give you this. I only got what's back of the copy. It's a copy of the law pertaining to it, which is Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. It doesn't exempt fire emergency vehicles either. Beginning of the shift, this should be done by everybody. This needs to be maintained on record for 3 years. All my trucks, I got a file for every truck, and every time that truck goes on the road, I get one of these. In fact, I use those times to pay my driver, the in and out time. Let me give you, just copies of it. See this one? That time to call. During the budget season, prior to the deliberative session, there was some talk. I believe the original quote for this truck was $150,000 from Valley Fire, or 125 to 150 was the estimate. That obviously, even now at 50,000, we're way below that. And there was some talk, and there was a placeholder put in for a contingency article, whereas if Article 8, the new fire truck, doesn't pass, will the town raise and appropriate X amount of funds for repairs on this fire engine? The Board of Fire Engineers had decided that they want to take an all or nothing approach. They didn't want to give that option to the voters. They wanted to take the gamble. They took the gamble. Even if the truck was approved by the voters, we know that it wouldn't have been delivered till December or January timeframe. Is that
10 months.
correct?
10, 12 months.
Okay. So
You're right,
yeah,
you're right.
we're in there. So we're talking a year. That the truck had to be maintained in a safe manner to protect the people of Guilford and the homes of Guilford. This stuff had to be done one way or another. Whether or not we bought a truck or not, this truck had to be maintained for until, just conservatively, let's say December or January. The pump, they say it passed, it's failed, it's tested, and I'm gonna ask Mr. McCahey. I understand the test, there's actually 3 phases, and I'm probably wrong on this, so please, I'm no expert. It's suction, PSI output, and gallon. Yeah, please.
An annual pump test, we said in the draft, my company provides the suction hose, the discharge guns, and all the test equipment calibrated twice a year. We said in the draft, when you purchase a fire truck, it's accepted, UL accepted, and classified. This is a 1250 pump at 150 PSI discharge pressure. We tested at that for 20 minutes, then we switch over to a different flow and increase the pressure to 200 PSI. That cuts it down to 70% of its capacity of 1250. We do that for 10 minutes, then we switch down to 250 PSI and flow water for 10 minutes at that test, and it's got to pass, it's got to match that original spec. Or we can judge the percentage, how far short we're falling. So, and then we also do a vac test, tells you if you have any leaks in the pump, if it won't hold it back. We time the prime it takes to get water. It's regulated how many feet we can lift and how far we can discharge. It's the whole process in there. So.
Could you enlighten us what phase this of the test this actually
The
failed?
volume fell short of the 1250 gallon a minute, and then we went to the 250 pressure especially. That fell short. And I should have brought the test results. I had it printed, I just didn't get them in my folder.
And when the chief brought up those numbers and brought up the pump manual that he had, and it was all highlighted in the book, that the numbers and the range that we were in was indicative, very possibly, of possible pump failure in the future. Those numbers may have not meant anything to anybody else, but those, it said right in the pump manual, these low numbers were very possibly a sign of what could be wrong with the pump, and that you could have a catastrophic failure of the pump. I'm not afraid of the word catastrophic, because believe me, this is catastrophic. Those numbers were all given out in this procedure, so it was not a huge surprise to us, that's all.
Okay, well, I mean, because according to the fire engineer's minutes of the August 16, 2011 meeting, Lakes Region Fire Apparatus will conduct hose and pump tests tomorrow, which will be August 17th. And I assume that was done. You go to the next monthly meeting, September 22nd, there's not a mention of it. I mean, we're talking catastrophic pump failure, this truck's no longer safe. Instead, we hear about engine 4 the ladder needing to be repaired, and the vehicle inspections, there were no major issues on the biannual inspection. No talk about this truck, this pump needs to get to Lakes Region, get rebuilt, the housing's probably bad, none of that. In fact, I would say if it's that bad, which it was, it should have been there August 18th. Instead, we waited 8 months. 8 months. We waited 8 months to bring it in and get it fixed. Were we waiting to see the results of an election? I mean, irregardless, it had to be fixed. At that point, it was a year and a half. We were a year and a half out from getting a new truck. Were we gonna just run it?
Kevin, I'm gonna ask you to kind of wrap it up. We're going to give
All right, well,
people an opportunity to speak.
The fire department did not allow themselves money. In fact, this here, I'm gonna give you another handout. Gus, you have a copy of this. This is a summary for the fire department subcommittee, which was actually written by the chief, which is kind of irregular. But if you go to page 2 under the heading of vehicle maintenance, there's a decrease of 11.5%, representing a little bit over $3,600 based on historical spending and the replacement of our oldest piece of apparatus. There was no intention to maintain this truck for another year. There was never an intention. This came from the chief.
Kevin, I'm curious. Who are you scolding right now?
Well, no, I'm not scolding anybody. We're being told because this needs springs.
What do you call it?
Excuse me.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me.
Mr. Professional here.
Who are you talking to?
You.
Why are you
come down.
Hold on. This
It's out of order, Mr. Chairman. He's out of order.
No, sir, you're out of order. I'm at the podium, you're on the floor. If you can wait your turn and speak. Until then, I'm speaking. We're trying to do this respectfully, please. Thank you.
Croc TV.